Good morning students, welcome back to the class. In this class, we are going to discuss regarding client-server communication. Like in the last class, we have seen what are the different ways in which an inter-process communication is going to be done, right? Inter-process communication is nothing but, in short, we call it as an IPC, and how two processes are going to be communicated, like by message passing, like we can communicate with with the other processes. So we have seen inter-process communication, and today in this session we'll be going to discuss regarding client-server communication. So in order to have a communication between the client and a server, there are majorly three methods we are going to employ. So what are those three methods are in the sense, the first one is the sockets, second one is the remote procedure call, in short we call it as an RPC, and finally we'll be going to have pipes. So these are the three different methods in which we are going to communicate between the client and the server. So let us see one by one. So when we are going to talk regarding the client server communication, as the name itself indicates, client server communication. So what we have to do is, we have to make a communication between the client and the server, right? So that we will be going to do by making use of different methods. So what are those different methods in the sense, as I have said you, the first one is the socket, second one is the remote procedure call, in short we call it as an RPC. RPC is the remote procedure call, and third one is the pipe. So these are the three different methods in which we will be going to communicate between the client and the server. So we can't say that there will be only a single client and a single server. So we'll be going to have different clients, and we'll be going to have a server which is going to serve the request of all the clients, right? So here, if you have seen here, there are multiple clients in communication with a single server. Suppose like if you are going to take an internet, many clients will be there, and the server is the one which is going to provide services for the people who are using that, are browsing many of the things. So what I mean to say is, when it comes to a client server communication, many clients will be there, and many clients are requesting some sort of information from the server. So server is the one which is going to respond to all the client requests and to fulfill their needs. So that is how the client and the server communication is going to be done. Here, suppose this is the client and this is the server. So here client and server, in the sense, like I'm not going to say that here only one client will be there. There will be many number of clients. These clients are asking some information to the server. They are asking some information to the server, and server is the one which is going to provide services to the clients. If some information they have been asked by client one, in the sense, according to that, this server is going to send the response, a related response to what the client one is going to be needed. So this is how the client and the server communication is going to be done. So client is going to ask some information to the server, and the server is going to provide services to the client. So this is the main concept or main funda between this client and server communication, right? So here, in how many ways we are going to do this client server communication? As I have said, in three different ways we'll be going to have the client and server communication. So here, the first thing we'll be going to see is the socket. Socket is the one which is going to be majorly used. So sockets are majorly used in this client server communication. So if you are going to have a client server communication, so suppose this is the client and this is the server. So if a pair of client and server has to communicate, the socket will be presented with the client, and a socket will be presented with the server. So without the socket, they can't communicate with each other. So a pair of process connected over a network will employ a pair of sockets. Suppose if this client and server wants to communicate, they need to have a pair of a socket in order to have a communication between that particular client and particular server. The sockets has to be employed. So what do you mean by a socket? How the socket is going to be? And socket is nothing but it is the combination of IP address plus port number. Fine. As we all know that each and every system has its unique IP address, which is going to be identified uniquely. Like we'll be going to have the IP address. Along with that IP address, we used to have a port number to which it wants to communicate. So that totally we'll be going to have in the socket, and socket is going to employ the IP address and the port number. So whenever you will be going to have the IP address, whenever we are going to talk regarding the IP address is an unique identification number for any of the system. So no two systems have the same IP address. So what I mean to say is each and every system has its unique IP address. So along with this unique IP address, like we will be going to add the port number of a specific server or a specific thing. So then we will be going to communicate with that particular server, and the server is going to provide the data to a particular client. So that is how the client and the server are going to be communicated. So when we are going to talk regarding this port number, so like we used to have different port numbers for different services, like below one like below 1024, like 1024, below 1024 all are reserved, port numbers all are reserved. So we can give port numbers above but not below. So if you want to communicate any of the client with the server, like when we are employing a socket, along with that IP address you have to give a port number. So port numbers below 1024 are reserved in the sense, for example, here I have listed some port numbers. For telnet server, the port number is 23. It is fixed, we can't change that port number. And for HTTP server, the port number is 80. And for FTP, file transfer protocol, the port number is 21. Like that, like we used to have the port numbers are fixed below 1024. 1024 port numbers are going to be fixed. If you want to give any port number, we have to give above 1024, so that it will be going to have not ambiguity will not be provided. So what I mean to say is 1024 till 1024 port numbers are all fixed. For example, the telnet server is going to have the port number 23, FTP server is going to have the port number 21, and HTTP server is going to have the port number 80. So ports below 1024 are well known, so reserved for specific servers. So if you want to allocate any port number, like we have to give more than 1024 port numbers. So that is how we will be going to allocate the port numbers, fine. So this socket facilitate communication between the two processes. So here we'll be going to have a process, and here we'll be going to have the server. So if this server wants to communicate with this process, so it has, this process should have an IP address plus the port number, then only it is going to communicate with the particular server. So when the server has received the request, like it is going to respond to that particular port accordingly. So this is how we'll be going to have the client and the server communication by making use of sockets. The main thing here what we have to do is we have to employ a pair of sockets at the client as well as the server. So when we want to make a communication between this process and between the server, in the sense we have to employ a socket over here, and we have to employ a socket over the server side as well as the client side. Then only we are going to make those two processes to communicate with each other. So I'll be going to explain in brief by taking an example. So this is how the communication between the sockets is going to be done. So here it is some host. Host is nothing but we are going some client, and this is the server. So this is the web server. Fine. What here we are going to do is socket. What I have said, a socket is nothing but a combination of IP address plus port number. So that we call it as a socket. Actually, the host, what is the IP address of this host is 146.86.5.20. Then when we are going to make use of socket in order to communicate between the server, what the socket will do is it will be going to take the IP address of this particular host, and it is going to add the port number. This 1625 is the port number, and this 146.86.5 is the IP address. So here we will be going to have only IP address for the particular client. So when we are going to make use of sockets, what socket will do is along with this particular IP address, it is going to add the port number. So without port number, we can't communicate with this server. So here, by making use of this port number, here as it is a web server, what is the, as I have said you in the previous slide, the fixed port number for web server is 80. I have said it here. So here the HTTP server listens to the port number 80. So in the same, that is why here, as it is a web server, here the port number is, this is the port number, this port number is 80. So if a client wants to communicate with the web server, it has to have its port number. This is generated by the socket, and here also socket will be there. So here this web server is going to have a particular IP address along with this particular port number. So this client sends it is going to ask some information. Client asks some information to this server, and server in turn provides some required data, so required data to the client. So this is how client server communication is going to happen with the sockets, by making use of a sockets. So what is a socket in the sense? A socket is a combination of IP address and the port number. So when we are going to make when we are going to communicate between two processes, that is one process, client process, and the server process, what we have to do and what we have to keep in mind is we have to employ a pair of sockets at the client side as well as the server side. So, and one important thing is when we are going to have the port numbers, we have to see that the port number should be below 1024. If the port numbers are below 1024, those are fixed port numbers. Those are used for specific reserved, what we call it as a reserved port numbers. So when we are going to make use of a port number, we have to make use of greater than 1024 port numbers. We have to make use of the other port numbers, or else you will be going to have the ambiguity. This is how the client and the server is going to communicate. And next thing we will be going to have the remote procedure call. So in the client and server, we have seen that is one of the method of how we are going to make use of this um, communication between the client and the server. Here, this is another method which we call it as a remote. Here, we call it as a remote procedure call. In short, we call it as an RPC. So, RPC is nothing but remote procedure call. So as the name itself indicates, RPC is nothing but remote procedure call. Calling the procedure, like here I can write you that calling a procedure remotely. So that is a remote procedure call. Calling a procedure remotely. Calling a procedure remotely in the sense, which is situated at different place. Situated at different system. When we are going to have, suppose in the main function, if you are writing anything in the sense, if you are calling in the sense, like it will be in the main function only. But if it is not in the main function, if it's situated in another function, that we call it as a remote procedure call. Here also, if the thing is situated in another system, we are calling that system. So how we are going to call that system? In the sense, by making use of remote procedure call. So it is also one of the inter-process communication technique that is used for client server based application. A remote procedure call is also known as a subroutine call or a function call. So as we all know what a function will be going to do, just we'll be going to write an add function in the main function, add in the main function. But outside the main, we have written the add function. So when an add function is called, automatically the cursor will shift from here to here. Fine. Cursor will shift from here to here without doing all these things, and it is going to complete, and the result is going to take back to this add function. So this is how a function is going to be executed. So instead of writing within the main function, we are writing outside the main function, and we are going to call that function or a procedure. So that is going that scheme is going to be followed in this remote procedure call. This request may be a procedure or a function call to a remote server. So it may be within the program or it is outside the program. What I mean to say is, it is the thing which we are calling is within the system, it may be or outside the system. So when the server receives the request, it sends the required response back to the client. So this is how the client server communication is going to take back by making use of remote procedure call. In the previously also, by making use of sockets, when the server requests for any information, when the client requests for any information, the server is going to send back a particular data what the client needs. So that we have seen in the socket. Here we will be going to make use of remote procedure calls. So here we will be going to make use of uh, client and the server. Fine. Here, majorly when a report procedure call is going to be done, majorly you will be going to have 6 tasks. So we will be going to have a 6 tasks. So what is the first one? In the sense, here the client calls, here the client calls client stub, or we can call it as a client proxy. Fine. So this is the first one. So this is the client and this is the server. The first point is client calls the client stub or the client proxy. And next, what the thing it will be going to do is, this client stub, what this client stub will do is, it will be going to pack. So here we will be going to pack the parameters into a message. It is going to pack the parameters into message. So this client stub is the one which is going to pack the parameters. Suppose if you are going to give some add 3 comma 5. So these 3 comma 5 are the parameters. So what this client stub will do is, this client stub will pack the parameters into a message. Packing this parameter into a message, that method we call it as marshalling. Packing the parameters into a message, we call it as marshalling. Then what is the third step we'll be going to have is, then this client OS, client operating system, sends this message to server OS. Fine. So this client OS will send this message. What is the packed message we are having? So that message is going to be sent to the server OS. So this is the third step we will be going to have. And after this third step, so now the message is with the server. Now the server calls the server step. Fine. Server calls server step. And then what is the fifth point we are having? Server stub. What this server stub will do is, server stub will do demarshalling. Server stub will do demarshalling. Demarshalling in the sense like unpacking the message. So here client stub, what the client stub has done, it has done the process of marshalling. So what do you mean by a marshalling? In the sense packing the parameters into a message. So that we call it as a marshalling. And after that, what does the client operating system, what it has done is, it has sends the message to the server operating system. When this message have sent to the server, then this server is going to call the server stub, and that server stub, what it will be going to do is, it will be going to demarshal, it is going to unpack the message. And finally this server OS sends, this server OS sends parameters to server. So server execute procedure. So these are the 6 steps we'll be going to have in the remote procedure call. So here we'll be going to have the client, and here we'll be going to have the server. The first point what it will be going to do is, this client function calls the client stub. So this is the first thing. And what this client stub is going to do is, this client stub, this packs the parameters. This client stub packs the parameters into a message, like into a message. So this packing parameters is what we call it as marshalling. This packing parameters we call it as a marshalling. Which has done the marshalling? Client stub has done the marshalling, and this client stub will send the data to the client OS. What this client OS will do is, it sends the data to the server OS. What this server, now the information has been reached to the server. Now here 1, this is 2, and this is 3. And when the information has been reached to the server, this server will calls the server stub. So this is the fourth one. What this server stub is going to do, it is going to unmarshal in the sense unpacking the message. So after unpacking the message, so this is the fifth one. After unpacking the message, so this server step sends the data to the server OS, and server OS sends parameters to and execute the procedure. And finally, after executing, it will be going to send back the required data to the client OS. So this is how the remote procedure calls, by making use of remote procedure calls, we are going to communicate between the client and the server. So this is how we will be going to pass the information between the client and the server steps. By making use of this remote procedure calls also, we will be going to share the information, or we will be going to get the information from the server. But when we have done with the sockets, a pair of sockets has to be employed, and we have to make use of some port number. That port number should be above 1024. If the port numbers are below 1024, like these 10 below 1024 port numbers are reserved, so we are not going to use that reserved ones, which creates an ambiguity. So we have to use the port numbers which are above 1024, and this is how remote procedure calls are going to be done. And last but not the last one is the pipes. This pipe is the one which is going to have the uh, communication between the client and the server. So it is another inter-process communication method that contains two endpoints. A pipe in the sense, as we all know, like this is a pipe. Here we will be going to have one end. Here we will be going to have another end. So here we will be going to enter the data from one end and processed and consumed and from the another end. Here we will be going to consume the data from the another end. So this we call it as a pipe method of communication between the client and the server. So we'll be going to have two ones. The first one, in the first end we used to enter the data, and the second one we used to consume the data. The best example of this is um, a producer consumer problem, like you will be going to have in the next session, producer consumer. So this is one of the example of this pipe. So producer is producing the items and the consumer is consuming the items. So if the producer is not producing the items, consumer can't consume the items. Producer has to produce the items if this buffer is empty, like we call it as a buffer. If this is full, producer can't produce the items. If this is empty, consumer can't consume the items. Like this producer consumer problem we will be going to have in detail. So as of now, this pipe is like a producer consumer problem. Like in pipe, as we are going to have two ends, in the first end we will be going to send the data, and by the second end we will be going to consume the data. Here there are two different types of pipes, ordinary pipes and the named pipes. So when we are going to talk regarding this ordinary pipes, it allows only one-way communication. So this ordinary pipe is one-way communication. This named pipe is two-way communication. So that is the difference between the ordinary pipe and the named pipe. So this ordinary pipes allows one-way communication. For two-way communication, two pipes are required. But with the one pipe, we can't make use of two-way communication. So ordinary pipes have a parent-child relationship between the processes, as the pipes can only be accessed by the processes that create or inherited them. So that is the ordinary pipes. So like as we all know, like parent and child we are having. So parent properties are inherited by the child. In the same manner, like when we are going to have a pipe, this pipe can have a children. So all the properties of this parent pipe are going to be inherited by the children pipes. It is a one way communication. Make a note of it. Only we can communicate in one way. So the second one is named pipes. These are more powerful than the ordinary pipes. Why? Because named pipes allow two-way communication. So that is the advantage of ordinary pipes over the named pipes. These pipes exist even after the process using them have terminated. So that is the main advantage. So if the process has used these pipes and the process terminated, but these pipes still exist. Till when it will exist? Until unless we deleted them specifically, these pipes will exist. So this is the difference between the ordinary pipes and the named pipes. So pipe is also a one way of communicating between the client and the server. As we all know, a pipe is going to have two ends. At the one end we will be going to send the data, at the other end we will be going to receive the data. Here the pipes are of two different types. The first type is the named pipe, ordinary pipe, and the second one is the named pipe. Ordinary pipe, in the sense, it allows only one-way communication. So the relationship between in the ordinary pipes is like a parent-child relationship. Why? Because the child will inherit all the properties of a parent. That is the relationship between the pipe in the ordinary pipes. But the drawback over here is it is a one-way communication. If you want to make two-way communication, like we have to make use of two pipes. So that is the thing of ordinary pipes. When it comes to the another one is the named pipe. Named pipe is a two-way communication. Here, we after doing the process also, the data still exists in the pipes until unless if you delete it permanently. So that is the thing we'll be going to have in the pipes. So as it is, as I have said, so this part we call it as an producer part, and producer in the sense producing the items producing the items is the thing of a producer. Here we will be going to have the curved part. This we will be call it as a consumer side, and consumer will consume the items produced by the producer. So this is the consumer side, this is the producer side. So consume producer side what we call it as an right hand, and the consumer side what we call it as an read end. So we'll be going to have this producer consumer problem in detail. So this is how we'll be going to have um, uh, the relationship between the client and the server. So client and the server, like how the client and the server are going to communicate. In the last class we have seen regarding the IPC. In IPC we have make use of message passing, right? By making use of message passing, like we'll be going to contact with the client and the server. But when it comes to the client server communication, here we have make use of sockets, remote procedure calls, and the pipes. I'll give a brief glance at the three things. A socket is a combination of IP address and the port address. What is an IP address in the sense? For each and every system, this IP address is an unique identification number. How we are going to identify a process or a system in the sense? By making use of IP address only we will be going to identify. So socket is a combination of this IP address and the port number. So port numbers are going to be given to each and every process. So these port numbers as having different numbers we will be going to have, and the numbers from 0 to 1024 port numbers are fixed. For HTTP, like we will be going to have the port number of 80, which is a fixed one. So above, if you want to give any of the port number, we have to choose among 1024 port numbers. So if you want to communicate two processes like client and the server by making use of a socket, we have to employ a socket at the client side as well as the server side. Then only we are going to make communication between the client and the server. And we have seen the example also. But when it comes to the remote procedure call, how we are going to have, we are majorly having the 6 different steps. So client is going to call the client stuff. What the client stuff will be going to do is it will be going to pack the uh, parameters into a message. That packing of parameters into a message we call it as a marshalling. After marshalling, that data is going to give to the client OS. What this client OS will do, this data is going to be transferred to the server. In the server, this server will going to call the server stuff or a server proxy we can call. What the server proxy will be going to do is like it is going to unpack the message. So demarshalling is going to be done, and then it is going to uh, respond to the client request, and finally it is going to send back from server OS to the client server, which is going to be utilized by the client operating system. So these are the 6 steps in which we will be going to have in the remote procedure call. And finally we will be going to have pipe. A pipe is also one of the communication medium between the client and the server. In client we will be going to have two ends. One is the writing end and one is the reading end. In other we can call it as a one is the producing end and another is the consuming end. There are two different types of pipes we are having, namely we will be going to have the ordinary pipes and the named pipes. So what is the difference between that ordinary pipe and the named pipe? Ordinary pipe means like we used to have only one-way communication. So if you want to have a two-way communication, you have to employ two pipes. So that is the drawback in ordinary pipe. When it comes to the named pipe, it is itself is a two-way communication. Both the client and the server can communicate in a parallelly. So we need not employ two pipes. In a single pipe, we'll be going to have a communication between the client and the server. So this is how a client and a server is going to communicate with each other. So this finishes this client server communication, and the next class we'll be going to meet you with another new topic. Fine. Thank you students. Have a nice day.